Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a movie that I've seen a couple of times since I got this DVD back when I was in probably high school, and I really got into reading and whatnot from this particular writer. I haven't read everything he put out, but he wrote this movie as well. The movie itself is called The Legend of Hell House, and the book itself it's based on is from Richard Matheson, creator of I Am Legend. The Incredible Shrinking Man, I believe, is one of his stories. He's done a lot of stuff. A Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon. I love Richard Matheson. He's a genius writer, but his book is called just simply Hell House. And look at this incredible cover, man. Look at the art on this thing. 300-page book. Came out in the 70s, or at least 1970, something like that. Really cool book. I haven't read it, though. I just really like the idea of it. I really love the cover of it. I've had this since I was in high school. Like I said, I've had this since around the same time. I had heard, and the reason I picked this up many years ago for, I believe, a birthday or a Christmas or something, asking for it, I had heard that this movie was one of the scariest haunted house movies ever made. And I say it with quotations, but it is still kind of a haunted house movie. And it didn't impress me then, and rewatching it now after like 10 years of not watching it, I'm a little bit more impressed, but not by much. The film is so well shot that I never wanted to get rid of my copy. But I also don't recommend you going out and rushing to find a copy if you can find one. I don't know if it's a rare copy or what, but I've never seen this movie out in the wild or anything. So it may be in production, it may not be. There may be a Blu-ray, there may not be. I don't know. The Legend of Hell House, though, is a 1973 film. It's about an hour and 40 minutes, somewhere in there. And again, Richard Matheson himself wrote it. The director hasn't done much of anything outside of this. He probably went on to some other smaller projects or producing or something, I don't know. But The Legend of Hell House, again, is beautifully shot. Basically, there's a doctor, physicist, whatever, his wife, and then two mediums, one of them being Roddy McDowall from Fright Night. Yeah, that plays Peter Vincent. I love Roddy McDowall. He just makes everything he's in better, including this movie, but he's not really hamming it up or anything for this film. This film is very British, and what I mean by that is it's very direct, very serious in tone, and it feels very British. There's a lot of British people in it, obviously. They go into this big mansion that apparently a lot of death has happened in this place since like the 20s or whatever. And Roddy McDowall was the only survivor of the previous incident that killed a lot of people then too. And he's brought in with this other woman to be kind of the mediums in this place. And it being haunted, they may hear voices, they may see some things. There's one scene that makes me laugh my ass off every time I even think about it. It's involving a cat attack, and it is hilarious. It is absolutely bad and awful, and it ruins the movie in some ways. It doesn't fit into the tone of the movie either, and also involving a moment with a shower that just makes you laugh every time you watch it. The film, to me, has a wonderful atmosphere. There are certain sound effects and soundscapes, if you will, designed for this movie that are so effective. There's a particular musical note that's not really used in the movie at all. There's not really much music at all, which is usually something I see a lot in 1970s films. It's a great example why I'm not a big fan of 1970s movies of any sort, horror or otherwise. But that one particular song they use in the opening credits and the end credits really does put a chill down my spine, but it's the soundscape, the kind of bassy, organ-like music. I don't really know how to describe it. It's not synth or anything like that. It's pre-that. Whatever the atmospheric music is that they use in here is super effective, and the performances really complement that as well. The house they shot in apparently was an on-location shot, which was crazy because the house is beautiful, the inside is beautiful. It's a scary-looking home, man. It's quite a bit looking not as big, but it's pretty hauntingly gothic, like the cover of this book that Richard Matheson put out, without the columns. It has gargoyles on top of it and stuff like that. It's pretty wild looking, a very gothic movie overall, and I love that because the black-hearted nature of my soul really appreciates that kind of thing. The Legend of Hill House, though, or Hell House, which I just slipped up Freudianly and decided to tell you the other part of my point. This feels like a bad version, not bad, but like boring version. It's really a boring movie overall, of The Haunting, which is based on The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I'm not a big fan of that book. I think it kind of sucks, to be honest with you. But the original adaptation of that to film called The Haunting I love deeply, and it came out before this. It's in black and white. That movie is terrifying. It is so scary and creepy. I watched that right after my honeymoon years ago. And it was terrifying. My wife was scared of it. I was scared of it. She doesn't even like horror, but she couldn't peel her eyes away from it because of how great and well made that movie was. I don't know how close this is to Matheson's book, but I assume since he's the one who adapted it and wrote this screenplay, that it is probably pretty competent at its adaptation. It's probably pretty traditional and faithful to that original book. So I don't know. Maybe Matheson wanted to update the Hill House story. I don't really know anything about it. I just don't think, at least with the movie, that it's very special. It feels kind of like a knockoff, even down to the 4 people in the mansion, like the 4 people in the Hill House movie. It's kind of weak. And apparently while they're there, they can collect $100,000 if they stay this 1 week at this haunted house. That's really it, man. Roddy McDowell begins to divide himself from everybody else because he doesn't know what to believe and what to trust. The house is freaking him out. It's freaking the other medium out as well. But again, it's just boring. All of the atmosphere stuff is great. The lack of music really makes this boring. But when you have like the cat attack scene I talked about, there's particular musical stings they use to try to make a jump scare out of moments that just kills this movie for me. Again, it's a very dry, British type of movie. And if you love that, you'll probably love this. If you're American like me, and you don't like 70s films, like I said, because I can't stand them most of the time, you're probably not going to like this. It's probably going to be way out of your ballpark. But I can appreciate the wonderful acting, the wonderful writing sometimes even. I can appreciate the concept despite it feeling like a ripoff of Hill House, and I can appreciate the beautiful soundscape and the house. I can appreciate all of those things, but not all of those things do a good movie make in this situation. I think Legend of Hell House could be better than what it is, even for its time. It just isn't what I want it to be. And every time I've watched it, all 3 times that I've watched it at this point over my life on this DVD copy, I've been disappointed. I've never loved this movie, never really found much value in it aside from the things I can obviously see and the things I can hear. It's not really the things I experience that really creep me out about this movie. There's not really anything aside from the soundscape that I think is truly spooky. However, I will say this, the ending of the film, despite it not being a massive twist or anything like that, in case you're looking for that kind of ghost, haunted house, possession movie, it's not really that. But if you're looking for that kind of thing, this is not really that, but I do think the ending was kind of unique. I've never seen anything like it. I thought it was a little overly complicated, to be honest with you. A little goofy, to be honest, despite the film being very serious. It is a little stupid in the ending. A little bit dumber than I hoped it would be, and things about the ending I forgot about, involving legs. Yes, legs. I just did not remember that being a part of this movie, and rewatching it now, there's a reason I didn't like this movie that much the 2 times I've seen it before now. Anyway, The Legend of Hell House, I still don't love it. I still think it's very mediocre, if not underneath average, because of how boring it is. But there's so much to love about this movie and so much to appreciate about it. I'm just not into this at all. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'm gonna probably get hated for this, but I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 stars. It's so close to being a 3, but I myself cannot do it. I just can't go that far. Sorry, my nose is itching. Allergies. I can't go that far. I just don't think it deserves it, personally. I want to love this movie, but I just don't love it. To be fair, it is one of the better haunted house, ghost, possibly even exorcism films, but it's not really like a Catholic exorcism. It's more of like a technological sci-fi exorcism, which sounds stupid, but it's not actually bad in the movie. All of those things I want to like more, but I don't. It's just, I can't. Anyway, 2 out of 5 stars for me for The Legend of Hell House. It should have been better. Richard Matheson has worked on so many things like Twilight Zone, and he's one of the best writers on Twilight Zone besides Rod Serling. He's worked on Star Trek. Richard Matheson is an absolute genius, especially where he created I Am Legend. I can't stand a lot of the adaptations to film about it, but let me tell you, I Am Legend, the original Vincent Price film, and the book itself are incredible. The book itself is one of those things I think should be read by every kid in school, the way people recommend things like Romeo and Juliet to our children. Get kids to read I Am Legend. That is the kind of thing like The Outsiders from S.E. Hinton that kids need to read about more and experience more. Anyway, What are your thoughts on The Legend of Hell House? I would love to hear everything you have to say about it down in the comment section down below. Despite me not loving it, please don't get mad at me. I just think it's boring as shit. I can't help it, dude. It's just, it does not impress me in the slightest. So anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. Catch you later. God bless you all, and goodbye.